Let's now bring in Dr. Felix Ndahinda, a researcher and consultant focusing on conflict, peace, and justice in the Great Lakes region. He joins us live via Zoom from Tilburg in the Netherlands. Well, thank you so much for joining us. The UN has eased this arms embargo on the DRC. What does this mean, and do you see this move changing the trajectory of the fight against rebels in the eastern part of the DRC?
Thank you for having me. I mean, I quite doubt whether that in itself is a measure that would change much in terms of the landscape of conflict and peace in the DRC. One sure thing is, of course, any government would want such a restriction to be not a hinder to whatever it wants to do in terms of armament and giving itself the means to provide security or fight wars. And the DRC has plenty of those necessities. That being said, I very much strongly believe that that measure in itself is very much insufficient. Many analysts have quite very much documented how many of the issues in terms of security and the proliferation of armed groups in the DRC have to do with the stronger structural issues within the DRC institutions, from the governance, from the security apparatus and the way they operate. For instance, it was very much time and again documented in many UN reports of the group of experts, among many others, that the DRC's militaries of members of the army do finance and do provide ammunition and even arms to armed groups they are meant to fight. So, I mean, if that culture existent in the armed forces continues, of course, one would only conclude that whatever arms the state is able to now unhinderedly purchase might still end up in the hands of the armed groups they are meant to fight. So there are many different, more fundamental changes in terms of governance and cultures within the institutions at DRC, including, of course, the ongoing kind of wave of hate speeches and politics of ethnicism and exclusion that need to be tackled in order to together, taken comprehensively, change the situation on the ground in terms of going for peace.
Felix, I want to ask you about this, the UN being in the DRC, UN presence there. The UN has also extended the peacekeeping mission by 1 year, despite recent protests and calls for peacekeepers to leave. What's your take on this?
It was very much expected. There's no surprise there. The UN mission has been, of course, contested, sometimes very violently contested, with even casualties among the UN force, but also civilians protesting. And so that has been widely documented. But it's a very, said time and again, and many actors would agree with me that the DRC has government and authorities have not yet proven that they have the capability of limiting violence in the country, but also especially protecting civilians in the eastern provinces where the population lives within territories where there is an absence of authority of the state, where there are armed groups which basically operates as the authorities make the rule in specific large territories. And M23, which has been the news, is only one among many others that have been ruling for many years now. So with the MONUSCO still remains, until the government is able to do its job, MONUSCO remains really a necessary force to provide peace and security for some populations under threat in Eastern DRC. Many, for example, Tutsis who are undergoing the wave of hate speech today would definitely see the departure of MONUSCO as something threatening today.
Felix, I mean, this issue of trust continues to be a challenge, even with the UN peacekeeping mission there, as we have seen in our reporter, Chris Chamaringa, continues to speak about this when he reports on this, and just that the lack of trust that people have in the DRC towards MONUSCO. What does the UN need to do to win back the trust of the Congolese people?
I don't know really whether, I don't know whether it's a UN, I don't know whether it's a UN issue or whether rather it's really more kind of a broader kind of structural issue again, which should be looked at both sides. One sure thing is the contestation around MONUSCO today seems to be saying that MONUSCO should be doing what the job of the government is. MONUSCO is a peacekeeping force, not not a peacemaking force. The idea is that the peacemaking part should be for the government and other kind of means. So MONUSCO definitely can be more proactive. To my mind, where it has been very much lacking is the capability of understanding the real issues, of connecting more with the ground, with the people, leaving a little bit more of the bubbles and quite very restrictive operational kind of mandates and rules that they tend to apply. But that being said, the fact of the matter remains that the DRC rather needs a little bit to do more. Of course, we know that the regional forces now are coming in, and the resolution I saw that it's urging MONUSCO to cooperate more with the regional forces that are coming, also to play a role in that search for peace in Eastern Congo. My mind is that there is a need for more connection with the population, need for more really comprehensive kind of intervention, which looks at all sources of conflict, all grievances by all different armed groups and populations and so on, different ethnic issues to be addressed, different historical issues to be addressed, and MONUSCO can play a role in that. The DRC has to show that the willingness to play a positive role in bringing peace, and authorities need to be more assertive and more kind of vetted also in their ability to be actors of peace rather than fueling armed groups.
Thank you so much for all that, Felix. Dr. Felix Ndahinda is a researcher and consultant focusing on conflict, peace, and justice in the Great Lakes region.